For Montana East Regional News, this is Court Watch. This is Emily Boyles. Monday morning, the Walter Larson case resumed in Glendive, and after a few quick witnesses laying the groundwork for the defense's case, Walter Larson took the stand. The defense began with a few quick witnesses intended to establish doubt as to time and to establish a potential motive for another individual to commit the crime. Two individuals testified to witnessing symptoms of domestic violence towards Susan Casey. One, Valerie Clance, who said they took her to the local domestic violence agency so she could get financial assistance so she could feel empowered to raise her children on her own. Finally, Walter Larson took the stand himself. He testified that he married Susan Casey when she was 19 and he 22. In a soft and lispy voice, he told the jury that after a year, he moved to Phoenix, and then 9 months later, he returned to Montana when he realized Casey would not move to Phoenix with him. He said he returned to Billings because Casey told him she was still not sure if she wanted to be married. She did not let him see the children at that time, and when a divorce decree was written, he says it stated he had liberal visitation rights, but claimed that the sheriff's office told him the wording was too vague for them to assist, and he could not afford a lawyer for assistance. He admitted during his testimony to the 1998 stalking events of Ted and Susan Casey's home. Larson said he periodically called Susan Casey to send cards and money for the children, and claimed that in 2006 his daughter saw his number on caller ID and had a friend call and ask if he would speak with her. Later, he said Susan offered him pictures of the children, which led to visits with her, the children, and the children's friends in Billings. When Susan moved into her own apartment in 2007, he began visiting them in Glendive. Larson told the jury that they both realized neither were prepared to be married when they were young, and it was his impression that, quote, she said she wasn't angry with me, and I knew I wasn't angry with her. I felt we still loved each other. He says they talked about a future. They communicated daily, he said, and he was surprised when he sent a 2007 Christmas card to her parents, and, quote, I learned that she probably hadn't told them about her relationship between her and I. Sometime early in 2008, Larson said Susan told him that there was a change in the timeline because she said the divorce wouldn't be as easy as he hoped. In February 2008, Larson bought a 2004 van, the van he was accused of transporting her body in. He says he bought it because Casey was concerned that Ted Casey might have taken her vehicle from her. The van, he said, was something she could take the kids in. In the spring of 2008, Larson said he became aware of Casey's involvement with Brad Holzer. He says she told him she had ended it. Larson admitted to sending emails under a fake username and making anonymous phone calls because, quote, I think it was to make sure she was ending things with him because I wasn't sure how much to believe what she told me, and I was testing to see if she had ended things with him, unquote. During cross-examination, Larson admitted he told Susan he had not called Ted because, quote, she asked if I had made the phone calls. I told her no because I was embarrassed and ashamed of myself, unquote. He repeated concerns about the night Susan went missing from the tapes of police questioning, that he was concerned about her drinking and he knocked softly as to not wake up the children, and that he left because he saw her vehicle and figured she passed out. He said that the water in the car was an attempt to clean up soda the kids had spilled. During closing arguments, the prosecution said he had vigorously scrubbed the back of the vehicle and used bathroom cleaner. The defense's closing noted the bathroom cleaner's bleach would have stained the carpet and that scrubbing was not likely because in addition to 2 hairs from Susan, a large amount of animal hair was found in the carpet. When asked by the state prosecutor Brad Light, quote, did you kill Susan Casey? Larson said, no. The prosecution pressed again regarding the clothes he was wearing in store videos and asked, quote, was the reason you didn't turn those in because they could have possibly connected you to the homicide of Susan Casey? Larson again said, no. In closing arguments, the state emphasized the timeline establishing Larson's presence at the Ponderosa Apartments in Glendive, where Susan Casey lived at the time she disappeared, and said he was there for the same reason he had stalked the Casey home back in 1998. Prosecutor Light said that the phone calls were an act and simply a way of controlling Susan, and that if he was truly concerned, he would have called someone locally to keep her from drinking and driving or being passed out with his children. Light said, quote, everything changed at St. Pat's Weekend 2008 at the pub crawl. Susan met Brad, and in a short period of time, they expressed their love for each other. Things clearly changed for Susan at that St. Pat's weekend, and I submit they clearly changed for the defense as well, because he was no longer the main man in Susan's life, unquote. He added he was upset, lashing out, and spiraling out of control. Randy Hood, for the defense, retorted that there was much guessing, supposing, and conjecture. She also said that there was reasonable doubt and even fictionalized accounts, but, quote, they did not prove when Susan Casey died, and I would suggest to you they also did not prove the scene of the crime. She got out of the pickup, but there was no link proven between the drag marks and the vehicle, unquote. Defense attorney Hood added, quote, this is an investigation in which Mr. Larson was targeted virtually from the very beginning. He was looked at to the exclusion of anybody else, unquote. Finally, Hood attacked the timing of the various videos seen by the jury, noting that the state's experts could not agree as to which time zone the videos were in, and she noted that the head of security for U.S. Bank confirmed the time on the videos that made the travel time between Glendive and the time a van showed on the bank security tape unlikely, and she reminded the jury that the state's witnesses could not positively identify license plates or people or vehicle types. Hood concluded, quote, Marty Larson is an innocent man and he is trusting you to make the right decision, unquote. Prosecutor Light's final closing argument said, quote, we're not going to Oz, he was there, and he pointed to the place in the videos where Walter Larson was whispering to himself, why didn't you just tell me? The jury went out a few minutes after 3. We'll bring you the verdict when it comes in with the jury. From Montana East Regional News, this is Court Watch. This is Emily Boyles.